Welcome to Cosmic Conscious Vibration, unlocking your inner universe with me, Reverend Dr. Kimmie and Dr. Pat. Are you on a personal journey of spiritual self-discovery? We provide practical ways to connect with your higher self to live a more meaningful life while deepening your connection to source consciousness. Learn the benefits of living a more mindful existence to reclaim your personal power. Join us as we explore insights to a deeper understanding of the nature of consciousness. Learn to listen better to your intuition and your heart's desires, putting you on a path of manifesting the life you are meant to live. The Cosmic Conscious Vibration Show is your catalyst for a consciousness revolution based on universal love and oneness. It all starts now. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another edition of Cosmic Conscious Vibration. I'm Reverend Dr. Kimmie, and of course, as always, I'm here with the beautiful Dr. Pat, and together we're going to hold space for the intersection of science and spirit, where vibration meets real life clarity. And now today's episode is very important, and I feel it's very powerful because we've all been here. Basically, all of us absorb energy. We all walk around absorbing everyone else's energy. And I know I've had this happen to me, and I think you have had that happen to you, Dr. Pat.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to stop doing that. Let's just say it that way. We need to stop doing that. We're carrying everyone else's burdens and ignoring our own, basically. We need to turn that switch off so we can stop absorbing and stop reacting.
What happens when you absorb energy from other people? Let's get into this because I remember walking into a conference and what's her face? Doreen Virtue met me right at the door. I was going ready to interview her at a conference, and she stopped me 20 feet away from me and she said, "Stop. You've got 10,000 daggers in your back." Now, I didn't really, but I did. See, what we're talking about is those 10,000 daggers were from other people that I was attracting, sticking to me, and really not helping me. It doesn't matter if you have 10,000 or one, it will slow you down.
Yes. Yes. On top of that, it's a big drain on your own energy. Sometimes you don't realize it until it's too late, to be honest. And then you're stuck with someone's energy attached like Velcro to your energetic field. And that no one wants that. You know how you rip Velcro apart? You need to everybody from your energy field, because sometimes that stuff clings to you and you don't know it. Like she said, you got 10,000 daggers. That's right. Because a lot of us walk around, especially people who are more in touch with their intuition or empathic, we walk around not even realizing that we're absorbing other people's energy. And sometimes of course, it's not conscious when that happens, but the other people who are sending you that energy, it's because you're a light in that room. So you're getting energy sent to you, be it negative or positive, really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because you see, what does that mean anyway? What does negative and positive energy mean? So for me, I could be looking at something like a very simple example. I love old horror movies, right? So I'm watching this benign horror movie from 51 maybe, called The Crawling Eye. It was so dumb. The whole crawling eye thing was dumb, but I liked it because it was the first sci-fi movie where the lead character was a woman and a psychic where she could see remote view. So that's why I love the movie. But I'm sitting next to Linda, and Linda's like, "Dang, I'm gonna have nightmares over that big eye." And I'm like, "Linda, it's so obviously ridiculous. I don't care. I'm just that big eye crawling up the hill." So we have to put things in perspective. But the bottom line is, why do you want to absorb somebody's energy anyway?
Exactly. And there are ways to not absorb, but we're not taught how to practice that. It's one of those things that kind of, as we walk a spiritual path and start awakening, we start noticing it more. Like when I was younger, I didn't realize I was absorbing all this energy, or why and sometimes the negative stuff is just people having those perceptions in their society, and they project it onto you. That's not, it doesn't really have to be like, negative, but negative enough for them in their perspective to send that information your way because they're judging you or looking at you through a different lens. So that energy gets stuck and trapped with you in you when you're not even realizing it. And the more and more you elevate in your spiritual journey, the less and less you want to be carrying anybody else's energetic residue, and that energetic residue has implications for your health, for your peace of mind in ways you don't even know. Like I can go to a bar and maybe have a drink or so, and people want to talk to me. I get that. People, you're attracted to my light. I totally get that. But the next day, if I don't release that stuff or try to block it out while I'm there, I am a what and a half. I am, everything is bad that day because my energy has been depleted and little leeches are in it, like this trying to suck all that good stuff out.
But I mean, it could be so simple. Let's use something out of so real in the world.
Mhm.
How often have you gotten out of bed? Let's just say that, gotten out of bed, and you think you're having a great day, and you sit down and you decide, I should really check my bank account. And you check your bank account, and lo and behold, what the heck? Minus $500. And you're thinking, you got to be kidding me. Now, it's a bank, but you're still absorbing the energy. You're still taking the energy into consideration. You've got that in you. Then you start to create a story. How about the job interview that you went on, that you're now like, wow, I didn't like what they said to me. And you take that with you and you're going to carry that for the next 5 interviews. See, these are simple things, but it could be even more devastating, right?
Right. And it's those simple things are really good examples, especially the bank account, because when people start talking about manifestation, for example, they always want to use money as the thing. Well, if you are in in a mindset of lacking money and you go to your bank account, you're probably going to see it and then spiral. And then that story that you tell yourself is just detrimental. Those stories we tell ourselves, we all have a story about who we are, how we're here, why we're here. But these are not those type of stories. These stories are things that we are fabricating in our little minds to what we think is to comfort us. But in reality, it's the complete opposite. They just hinder us and sometimes will freeze you in place. It's not very good for your nervous system either. And
Why do we do it? Why do we do it? What is going on here? Because you and I are saying how devastating this could be, especially if you're an empath, hello,
mm-hmm,
or you're vibrationally porous,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
So why we absorb energy? Let's talk about that. Because first of all, we're human, right? But from where you sit, why is this going on? And then what we want to talk about from where you're sitting is you're going to help us understand how to build that filter, right?
Yes, we definitely all need filters. But yes, the energy we absorb, why is it happening? Because we are energetic beings. We are walking around, we're basically magnets for whatever we put out into the universe. And sometimes we're magnets for things that we didn't put out in the universe because we are these magnetic beings. So when you have someone that is in your circle sometimes, that may be that Debbie Downer, if you will, or someone you're around at work that maybe the office nitpick. These are things that you may not look at as problematic, But when you're in their energetic field, you're sharing space with them. So we share space with lots of different people and lots of different energy fields. And that sometimes crosses over. But you're right. There are ways that we can like put the brakes on this before you get the crabby next day, before you feel like, why do I feel so tired and drained today? Because that's another thing. It drains you. Sometimes you're just tired. You're like, why am I so tired? Well, where's your energy going?
Right. Right. So let me ask you a question. How has this happened to you? Where does this come from? Is it that we get hit up at childhood? How often have you been told, wow, you're way too sensitive? But where does this hang on to us? And then how have you learned, Reverend Dr. Kimmie, how have you learned to really develop a filter that would help you move on? Because this will keep you stuck.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes. Of course, trial by fire is always the best way to learn, right? I love it because it's true. When I was younger, I I was that kid that always was smiling and all that things. And at the same time, yeah, I was the one that was more sensitive to everything. And when you're young, you don't realize you're more sensitive in a way that is hindering you. Other people think that it's something hindering you. You're just being yourself, right? And so when you're young, unless you have um, parents, I mean, mine were always good parents, but like sometimes they'll know, this is, they try to protect us from things. And that's also sometimes at a detriment sometimes because protecting someone from something like their sensitivity backfires later in life because then your emotional regulation is all off. You don't know what's going on, and then it becomes harder to even detect that you are picking up other people's energy. The kid that likes to hug everyone, that's that beautiful light that does that. But definitely I've had it my whole life. That's what said, the bar was the most recent example that I've learned to not have that happen to me.
Yeah.
But what is important is to set up a frequency filter. And that is something where it's about energetic calibration. You're not blocking people out. I'm not wanting you to block people out or say, I don't want to talk to you. That's not what that's about. You can keep yourself being open-hearted without absorbing everything around you. It can be as simple as just setting in your a mantra for yourself that keeps you grounded when you go into energetic spaces that you don't really have a lot of control over, like a group setting, for example, or your office every day. Because a lot of times the office is where people are really picking up other people's energy the most in the way our society is set up. So it's about discernment and not disconnection. You don't want to disconnect with people because humanity is all about connection. That's what we are here to do. We're all connected. But sometimes other people's energy, you can do a quick a mental check. You can, if you're more into ritualistic stuff, you can even just light some incense in your area. Not, don't do that at work. You'll set up fire sprinklers. Even a couple of crystals in your area that, kind of ward off different things, because people go, oh, crystals, but crystals are energy like we are too. So if they have one that gives off, there's also ones that block. So you can set up your little boundaries, especially important in crowded situations like that, because we affect someone's energy just like they affect ours.
And part of this is just understanding that the world is changing. So let's just talk about why we're talking about this today. We're now living in a world, and let's go back for a minute to COVID, because what COVID did, not the illness, not the pain we went through, but let's talk about the technology up-leveling that happened as a result of our inability to be able to be with each other. But then comes Zoom. And out of nowhere, right? It's like, where were you? And then there they are. And they brought everybody together, right? But, in the world now, this is one example of the digital age. But now I pulled out of here to go take these little doggies back, and I'm watching these kids get on the bus. Man, I'm like, do any of them not have a cell phone? Because they got the phone and they're like walking to get the bus. So how do you believe now technology has even made us more susceptible?
It's a two-way thing for me. Energy is energy. So you don't have to be in someone's space to absorb their energy. Prime example, I'm an energy healer. I do virtual sessions because energy, everything we're sitting in, the chair is energy, this computer is energy. So what I think that time did was make us more aware of it. And at the same time, where we were more aware of what, doom scrolling, for example, is a prime example of just absorbing negative energy. You're just manifesting more of the same stuff to keep flowing in your, in your timeline, right? But at the same time, when COVID hit and Zoom was getting popular, there was the beautiful side of that, of the connection. We were able to connect in different ways and see people across the pond more. So, I mean, we've had stuff before, but we weren't ever forced into a box that this was how we needed to do it before, right? So we were more aware of how energy affected us. Even as something as the distance we kept between, when we were walking in lines and keeping that distance. If you think about that distance, it's actually right outside of your energetic bubble. So you were keeping separate in even when you were in those type of shared spaces because you were right outside of someone's energy bubble. So I think coming back together, we've been dealing with it more because we were more aware of it now.
When you think about this, before we keep going, I want to make sure that for those of you out there and you're listening to this, you want a solution. The best thing I can do is say, please get a hold of Reverend Dr. Kimmie. Now, what is the best way for people to do that? Because we're going to get rolling here and we'll probably forget how to tell people to connect with you.
Yes. Well, you can always find anything about me on my website, which is RevDrKimmie.com, just Reverend Dr. Kimmie. And of course, if you are on TikTok, I'm always on there doing something. That's perfect for the no makeup, don't care version of me. But yeah, those are the places that you can reach out to me, especially if you are going to the website. That's where all the packages and things that would help different parts of your life. So, yeah.
So let's build the bridge because we've been talking about the scenario, the situation. But let's talk about how do we build a bridge and come up with, let's talk solutions. However, little caveat, how do we do this with an open heart without absorbing it? Because the antithesis of that is you just shut everybody off. Right. You're just like, I'm done with you. X, cross you off my list. No. But how do we do this and invoke a filter so that we don't have to give up a piece of our heart?
Right. You never want to give up your heart. Everything is built from love. You are love incarnate just by being here. And of course, you don't want to shut yourself down, but you can love people without taking on their pain. And I'm saying that mostly because I know if you're empathic or energy sensitive, especially, a lot of times, and people who aren't, they tend to take on other people's pain. Sometimes when we're looking at things in the world or talking to our friends, we're empathetic with what's going on and we don't want to absorb their pain. We want to be an ear for their pain, but not let it affect us. And sometimes that can be tricky, especially if it's someone you desperately love. It really can be tricky, but it's really about a unselfish love. You're loving unapologetically that way because you're not taking on what you don't need to carry. You're allowing yourself to love freely, but not absorb it. And your body will know when you're absorbing stuff. And a lot of times we don't listen to our bodies. We're so used to, going to the doctor for every little, hiccup, but not really tuning into how our body responds to certain things like stress or energy things coming into our environment. So It's as simple. Sometimes it's like, I'm not going to carry it. This is not what I'm going to do. I will love you and I will share time with you and space with you, but I don't need to carry
Yeah.
your burdens.
Yeah. There are two things I want to just check in with you about, because we have to learn some boundaries for ourselves. We can't always jump in and help everybody with everything. I was telling Linda the other day, I'm watching some of the women get coaching, right, on how to play my sport. And I cringe. I just cringe. And, they're being coached by men. There's nothing wrong by that. But last night I had a coaching session. I got to tell you, when you watch women try to learn a sport and you can't even hold your racket or bat properly, and they just keep letting you play this, but you mind your business. And then you have to put the filter up and say, okay, Pat, you know what you're seeing. It's so hard to unlearn a bad habit. The other thing is, in my business and what we do at the network, we don't just look at doing shows. We check to see, what else are you doing? Is your website performing well? I just ran 10 reports for our hosts because we build websites. And so I'm in this automatic mode and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Do people even know why their connection to the digital world is breaking down? So I said to Jessica, we've got to reach out to people, send them the reports, and tell them we can help them. But the immediate answer is that really our business? Now, Jessica didn't say that. But the answer is yes, it is, because you come to us to try to look at a bigger picture. And I just happen to know too much right now because that's in my wheelhouse to build websites. I don't know. What would happen if I just say, oh, no? See, there's a line that you draw between watching somebody get in harm's way, not absorb it, but knowing that you cannot absorb it, but you want to help. You see, that's our dilemma right now. That level of empathy without cause is our dilemma. We have to balance that, don't we? I mean, you don't not help somebody.
Right. It's always about that fine balance. And when it comes to helping people, if people are asking for help, that's great. Bringing something to someone's attention, that's also not involving yourself. But when someone comes to you for help and you're able to give it, that doesn't mean you can give them the shirt off your back, but not all the money in the bank account and all that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a limit. You have to set some type of a boundary. Boundaries are important. And a lot of times people don't have set boundaries because of years and years of saying yes to everything, especially women. Oh, we're the epitome. And Mother's Day was just a minute ago, yes to this, yes to that, yes to this, yes to that. And that's not how it works. You don't see men going yes to everything, right? So those are the things you have to set these boundaries, not only for your own sovereignty, but for your own sanity.
Yeah. No kidding. My dad was a queen. My dad was a queen and a king of no. He was a queen and king of no. The first thing out of his mouth was no, and then he'd laugh. So when the dad used to say no and then laugh, you knew to come back.
Right, exactly.
You're like, seriously, Dad? No to what? What? Give me the money, go to the movies, and I'm gonna get out of your hair. But you see, this is all building that inner power, isn't it? So,
Yes.
In conclusion, let's talk to people about why you have to be a little bit selfish.
You have to be selfish because I know, but you have to. You can't love others from an unconditional point or frame if you can't love yourself unconditionally first. So you have to give it to yourself before you give it to anyone else. And I'll end with this. Basically, if you're able to do this, if you're watching now, if you're driving, please don't do this. But place your hand over your chest or your belly and just breathe into your body. And just say this: I remain open to love and truth, but I no longer carry what isn't mine. I release distortion. I return to renaissance. I always mess that word up. But in other words, return to what makes you light up. Return to resonating with who you truly are. And don't carry stuff that does not belong to you. Those bags are what was it, Erykah Badu? That song, those bags. Those bags, you don't need those bags.
I think we have had more pop culture references to bags, like what you and I are calling them bags.
Yeah.
We have had more pop culture songs and music. I don't care what genre you're in. I mean, there's nothing. People say country western is all about this. I'm saying you have not listened to blues.
Right?
Just coming out of the gate. And I'm saying, yeah, country western they'll kill your dog, take it right, all of that. But blues, you get at the heart of what you and I are talking about now.
Blues, R&B, soul, a lot of those. That's why I brought up that, because, and it's a metaphor. It's something that we all can agree with, that we don't need to carry anyone else's stuff. But yet when it comes to actually setting those boundaries personally, we get a little wiggy wobbly and don't really know how to set them. That's where we get in trouble.
I was asked about a month ago if I had a song that represented the woes of, I can't remember the question, boundary violation or seriously not able to repair whatever. I said, seriously, there's only one song like that I can think of, written by Prince, formerly known as Prince.
Which one?
And sung by Sinead O'Connor. Nothing compares to you.
Yes.
Think nothing compares to you? Seriously? Come on now. Now we're talking about. I wish we could have given her a filter because she was so right on. But you understand, that's why we relate to music. I mean, so many lines from movies. I mean, you complete me. Seriously? You complete me, Jerry Maguire? Right? Love Story just broke everybody's heart. Never having to say you're sorry. Oh, seriously? Come on now. But let's talk about this in closing. How do we stay open to truth and love?
You just have to stay open. And I think that sounds like, well, you just have to. But it's because when you're too busy closing yourself off, you sometimes can forget how to just be open. And there's nothing wrong with wearing your heart on your sleeve or being a nice, kind person, because of course, what you do, you can always paying it forward. But when it comes to these things, it's really about setting boundaries and being firm in your sovereignty and making sure you're saying to yourself, I'm not carrying what I don't need to carry. And when people want your help, help them. But if it's something they can do themselves, they don't need your help. They want you to do it for them so you can carry them. And there we go, carrying people's bags again. We do not need to carry.
How do people find out about you one more time? Please tell us.
Well, again, my website is reverendrkimmie.com. That's REVDRKIMMIE.com. And of course, on TikTok or Facebook, one of those places, I'm always there messing around.
Messing around, having fun,
doing things.
Town, like whatever we're doing. Thank you so much for today, because this is not going to go away. Now with the AI infusion and people just copying AI and putting it in an email, they don't even know that they're offending people.
This is true. And everything you got to use with intention and discernment. You can't just be going all willy-nilly.
Yeah. Putting a heart at the end of a sentence that says your website sucks is not really the answer. No. That is not how you do it.
No.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Kimmie. Thank you for this today. This is one of the most important messages for our time. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you for having me. You have a blessed day, everybody.
You too. Thank you for tuning us in.
Thank you for listening to Cosmic Conscious Vibration, Unlocking Your Inner Universe. I'm Dr. Kimmie, and along with Dr. Pat, we have been discussing the nature of consciousness for ways to deepen your connection to Source. Join us on the second Tuesday of each month at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on Transformation Talk Radio, as we provide the information to assist you on your personal spiritual journey. You play an important role in the interconnectedness of all things. For more information on the benefits of living a more mindful existence please visit www.revdrkimmie.com. That's ReverendDrKimmie.com.